G'day, welcome to Nevadia. Okay, if you haven't watched the first video in this set, I suggest you do it here. It's long. Oh wow. Long story short, after my interview with him, John Richards does some pretty silly things on Twitter, which makes him look even worse in the eyes of the community. That's impressive, considering we didn't actually have a lot of respect for him to begin with. Because dates are important in this video, the interview that I had with John was on the 14th of March, my time. I ended the last video saying that there are bombshells. The first one is public, but not overly well known. The day after the interview, I was in a stream with Jeff, aka Godless Scummer, and a few other people. My friend and patron, Anti-Theist Pastor, aka Chris, did some digging and found evidence to suggest that Lance Gregorchuk is still financing the convention. I asked him DMs to explain how he did it, and he gave permission to share this. A little bit of background on Chris is that he used to work in politics and is currently studying that and history at university.
Okay, so what this is the Anti-Theist Convention website. As we sort of scroll down towards the bottom, you'll see what there is. There's like, contact and, information sort of all along here. But what there also is this little about section. So this is something that's it's tucked away, and it's probably something they haven't really updated or edited. We click on that, and what it gives us, it's in German. So I'm going to leave it in German. Now, what this is, Neuster Ein, that's actually an address. So it's different to, I guess, Australian, American, English style addresses. You can sort of see it's the Anti-Theist International with that address and some more information. That's the contact details. So that's, contact John, telephone, and that telephone number. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this address, copy, open a new tab, and paste, and we'll see what pops up there. So that pops up that it's an address in Monheim and gives some different businesses that happen to be at that address, including this office-Monheim. And what you'll notice is the phone number. So now if I were to go back to here, so you'll notice the 101 7700, 101 7700. If we Google that phone number, then we'll notice a company called Martial Arts Professionals, which is a business that on Lance Gregorchuk's Facebook page, he's listed as working at or the owner of. That's how we're able to link that to Lance. So the address and the phone number, even though it's got John on it, is actually Lance's phone number and Lance's business address that he's been using. So all they've done is they've just changed the name and the contact in the about section from Lance to John. Using the Internet Time Machine, we're able to see when the last changes had happened on that, and the last changes happened on that in December and then January. So that's how we're able to do that.
The fact that John, on multiple occasions, had repeatedly denied he was financing the convention, this is the smoking gun that shows credible evidence that he is still financially involved. We already suspected heavily that he was, mainly because of John's refusal to outright say, nope, he's not financing the convention. John hides behind a wall of respecting the anonymity of his donors. In my interview with John, I mentioned that Lance wouldn't mind because he boasts about his financial contribution to the event in David's interview with him. It has been pointed out several times by independent sources saying someone isn't involved in something is not doxing. For example, I'm not doxing Ocean by saying he does not live at 123 Streetville. But let's be honest, multiple claims by independent parties is not enough evidence for John. I asked Chris, also, you said you were able to find evidence that John Richards was a politician as well.
Very simple, atheistalliance.org, directors, and it actually says right here that he's a former science teacher, experienced campaigner for critical thinking, was a local politician for 10 years, specialising in health service issues, ended up as leader of the opposition of a Sussex council.
While not much of a bombshell, it does explain a lot of his behaviour, such as question dodging, his refusal to let people speak, talking over the top of me during the interview, deflection, literal interpretation of the law, etc. Chris told me that a repetition of a word while being asked a question is a tactic taught to politicians to deal with hostile media, hence the complain thing. That information was discovered on the stream with Godless Scummer on the 15th of March. But wait! There's more. Over a week later, on the 23rd of March, David Worley got an email from info@atheistconvention.com. It says,
"Hey David, so much fun working with you over the last few weeks. So looking forward to the next 72 hours. You are the best. Lance."
yes, you heard that correctly. An email from the official address of the Anti-Theist convention was signed by Lance. Now, we could make a whole heap of aspersions regarding this, but let's be honest. The best case scenario for John, Lance was able to guess the password to the convention's email and deliberately sent a creepy message to David Worley to cause problems. But, in my opinion, Lance never lost his privileges because he was never fired in the first place. It seems he's been in constant communication with David Silverman, and in a slip of concentration or the mouse, he sent it to David Worley instead. I'm not suggesting he was drunk at the time. We've all sent messages to the wrong person while sober, but I like to entertain the thought. I'm comfortable in saying this is pretty much definitive proof that Lance is still involved heavily in the conference, if we consider the other pieces of evidence available to us. A few people also decided to reach out to John after the interview. The aforementioned atheist pastor tweeted at him, but John never replied. My boyfriend, Not Joe Witness, also sent John a DM on Twitter. He's not going to release all the messages publicly. However, he gave me permission to share some of them between John and himself. He also warned John that anything he said would be used against him. And he just kept talking. It starts out with Not Joe explaining that he's going to probably do a video on the interview. He warns John that I'm his girlfriend and mentions that he is looking at his conference from a legal standpoint. Please note, Not Joe has decided not to do this video. John then goes into a diatribe about how social media is bringing back the era of the witch hunts and how he supports the law. He then says,
"No need for a video. I'm not an idiot. I don't need pictures. In the case in point, I announced that we were setting up an atheist award show. People made nominations. When the deadline for nominations had passed, I posted them with ballot forms. People voted on the ballot forms. When that deadline had passed, I counted the votes, and I'm passing the shortlist to the judging panel. Your girlfriend accused me of giving an award to David Silverman. Nothing could be further from the truth. I did not nominate David Silverman, nor did I vote for him. I can tell you that he didn't make the shortlist. Insufficient votes."
I'm going to assume that when he talks about David Silverman, he meant David Worley. Initially, he said he didn't get any nominations for Worley. Now he's saying he didn't get enough votes for him? Which one is it, John? Also, John, we understand the nomination process. You don't need to keep explaining it to us. We are intelligent adults. We know how to use a computer. And again, I misspoke. Then John asks for something incredible. In this bit, he's talking about me.
"Perhaps you'd like to ask her to apologize to me. I gave her the benefit of the doubt, thought her false accusation was because she didn't understand the process and described it again. Maybe I should charge her with sullying my reputation."
Yeah. I have no words. He then goes on to belittle Notcha's education by saying,
"Please advise me, law student."
even if Notcha is a student, if the information is correct, the information is correct. Nice straw man and genetic fallacy there, dude.
I think it might be wise for you to hone up on your local UK laws, criminal codes and workplace health and safety regulations, as you have with your own words shown a lack in understanding in most of these areas. In hindsight, I shouldn't have said criminal codes, but rather just local legislation. Oh well.
My health and safety policy is that of the University of Brighton, since we are using their premises. You want video wars? Your targets are the University of Brighton and the Anne Craft Trust, not me. Good luck.
Here, John is throwing around large names to try to intimidate Notcha. You know, the guy who's living in a cult and is still making anti-J-dub videos. Having a vague threat from someone who has no platform on YouTube about a video wall isn't scary. Also, we repeat again, John, a policy means nothing if you don't implement it. We don't trust you to implement your policies. That's why we've been criticizing you. A few lines later, John does something that is frankly hilarious.
If you publicly post a video denigrating me, I demand a right of reply. I demand the right to post my video on your channel.
That's not how it works. Also, if you do that, you're entrusting the channel owner to upload it without changing the video at all. Didn't you say earlier that you weren't an idiot?
In which I will outline all the false accusations Mero levelled at me. I can equally download and clip Mero's false accusations. We all have home studios now.
John, please outline them. I think you'll find that most of these so-called false accusations are really me misspeaking. You also need to understand calling me Mero is extremely unprofessional, and you do not have my permission to call me that at all. My name is Meredith or Navadia. John then goes on to say this.
Last time this happened, our traffic increased 8-fold for no cost.
I am not interested in that, to be honest.
I am. It sells tickets.
Notja warns him again to
Be on guard with what you say, and that I will be taking your words and responding to them. Telling me that you're interested in profit is probably not the best idea.
John then continues without skipping a beat.
Especially when viewers see that I present as me, while others use an alias. I'm interested in covering costs, Nacho.
Interesting angle, but you do know why I'm anonymous, yes?
Because your JW friends and family ostracize you. I'm on your side with that. I met some Aussie ex-JWs in Red Lion Square in London 2 summers ago. I don't suppose you were among them.
Here I think he's being genuine. He then goes back to attacking me. I kind of think he doesn't like me.
What's Navadia's reason? She's hiding?
This bit shows, again, his absolute lack of ability to research someone. My name is public. It's Meredith. Navadia is my channel's name. I also go by Navadia because people associate me with my channel. It's a common thing in this community. Everyone knows Telltale's real name is Owen, but we still call him Telltale. So no, John, I'm not hiding. A bit later in the conversation, he also attacks my popularity on Twitter and probably by extension my channel.
How many followers does she have? 500?
Should I mention he's got 318 at time of recording? He goes on to say,
The amateur podcasting scene is a tiny niche, hardly worth bothering with.
oh, great way to get this community that doesn't think very highly of you on side. Good work, mate!
I'm confident that we have measures in place to ensure a safe and congenial environment for all. Probably better than, I don't know, Glastonbury?
Is that meant to mean anything to me?
You've not heard of the Glastonbury Festival? When were you born? Google is your friend, as I tell my daughters.
Says John, the person who cannot find Atheist Edge's contact details.
The more appropriate question to ask would be, where was I born? Why would a random Aussie know anything about some Brit festival? I can tell you all about Aussie festivals though. Lots of fun at them.
Also, just because a person hasn't heard of something extremely famous in your area of the world doesn't mean that they're stupid. Notja has decades of living in a cult that limits information. Things I knew from childhood, he found out about 2 years ago. After some chit-chatting, John then says,
Would you write me an article? I'm the editor of Secular World Escape from Faith. It's a series. Anon. 750 words and a pic of the outback. Could you explain the meaning of witnessed as used by JWs? You travelled around to look, to see, to spread the word?
At the moment, I don't think it's wise for you to make any arrangement with me. See if you still feel you want me to write something for you after you respond to my video at least.
You're assuming I think you're worth bothering to respond to. Currently, I think you're quite a decent bloke, and I'm sure you wouldn't want to spoil my impression. You'd have nothing to gain from that, and I'm in a position to help you.
John, you don't seem to realise that if Notja wrote for you, he would lose a lot of respect from the community he is already in. You are not in a position to help him. You need us. I'll let Notja comment on this bit too.
So the atheist YouTube scene is a tiny niche, said John, but he wants me to write an article for him, despite the fact that he thinks I'm not worth responding to, although I am a decent bloke and articulate enough to write for AAI's flagship journal? This is confusing.
Looks like he's negging you, Notja. Someone has a crush on you. For those of you who are unfamiliar, negging is a pickup artist term for couching a compliment in an insult to lower a girl's self-esteem. For example, they might say, "You're a 6, but I'd date you."
John, to be honest, I couldn't care less what you think of me, be that a positive or negative impression. One of the things I've said early in my social life as Notjar is I'm not here to make friends, but I'm always pleased to do so. I'm here to call out bullshit where I see it, and sometimes that will be people I know and care for. Sometimes it will be people I'd never heard of before yesterday. Either way, I will not tread gently, nor too harshly, for the sake of your thoughts about me, John.
Very sound. So what do you think about Mero's false accusations? Are you going to call out her bullshit? Because you don't care what anyone thinks of you? She said incorrectly that I'm giving an award to David Silverman.
I calls it where I sees it. Mero got to hear from me as I watched it next to her, and yes, I told her where she was wrong for sure. I, however, had a lot less to say about her performance than I do about yours. I'm pretty sure you set her straight on that in the video though, John. Pretty much immediately as she said that, you corrected her. Possibly somewhat rudely, but still.
Keep in mind this conversation happened before my last video. People who know me also know that if I get something wrong, I want to be corrected. I don't consider that being rude. However, John seems to be horrified by the fact that we correct him on his behaviour. If anything, he's the one who thinks being corrected is rude. He continues to accuse me of false accusations and even says I'm
feeding the dragon of irresponsible journalism consumers.
His sign off with Notjar is particularly interesting.
I don't think your tiny audience of young, impecunious viewers are our market.
Well, my audience is a bunch of assorted XJ dubs, so yeah, okay.
Anyway, I'm bored with you now, so have a nice night.
Yeah, righto, John. Have a good one.
So that was a ride. Don't worry, we're almost there. On March the 18th, I logged onto Twitter and saw that I couldn't see John's tweet. Interested, I decided to look at his profile and saw this. Yes, he blocked me on Twitter. I'm still laughing. Since then, John has gone quiet, just promoting his convention. There's a few more people have dropped out, and that's pretty much it. I call on the community to contact any speakers or nominees on the Anti-Theist International website who may be unaware of the controversy surrounding the safeguarding policy. Their good names do not deserve to be sullied by this. However, I do not want anyone to abuse, dogpile, or otherwise treat anyone connected with this convention with any disrespect, especially John. If you do not have my approval. Treat people with respect. Please check the pinned comment for the playlist I put up of any videos I found relating to this issue, including the stream Shannon Q did the other day. And don't forget, don't give yourself the raw prawn. A special thank you to all of my patrons who have supported me, especially my $35 Irukandji patron, Osman Cometh. I also want to thank everyone who donated their voices to this project. Bad Tempered Badger, Shannon Q, Aaliyah Kai, Ocean Keltai, Atheist Husker, Atheist Pastor, Blue Collar Heathen, and Not Jug Witness. Also, a very special thank you to Aaliyah Kai for helping me with the script. Massive shout out, and also check the pinned comment below. Have fun, stay safe and healthy everyone.